go. Alright, welcome back to Nick Line. This comic corner, classic, lesson, known classics. This episode number 3207 and Doubleshot number, I think it's 07, isn't it? No, 13. 32, 13, and Doubleshot 3107. Basically, first I have a trade that collects the foundation of a volume for a particular series. The other is another trade for it. First that we have is Punisher Max, the Complete Collection, Volume 5. This collects the Punisher Max Annual. This volume's sole annual ever released. And I think the next annual will come out for 2 years for Punisher. Because there was one for the next volume, which came out in 2009, I think it was. It actually was 2010, I think it was. They didn't come out for that one. The volume that came out for that one, which was, I think it was Ruckus volume that came out. Yes, Ruckus one came out after that. That did not have an annual. Emerson, nope. After Emerson, basically next time after this, where it would have the next time we see an annual for Punisher, would actually be for Becky Cohen's run of Punisher, where it had one annual published, written by probably one of Punisher's co-creators, Jerry Conway, and that was it. And at the time this annual came out, this was the first annual release in over 10 years. As for the reason for it, I don't know. So, by the way, the book also contains Punisher, Force of Nature, Punisher, Little Black Book, all published in Max imprint, Punisher, Volume 6, basically the last 15 issues of it. By the way, with issue 66, it was retitled to be, Punisher, Frank Castle, Max. And it was like this for the last 10 issues of this book. Before it was relaunched simply as Punisher Max. Yep, so Mike Benson does the annual with Lawrence Campbell on the artwork. Dwayne Straczynski does the Force Nation one-shot with Michael Laban on the artwork. Little Black Book is Victor Gassischer, who was also the same guy who did X-Men Volume 3. He did pretty much most of that volume. I think he did the first, about 29 issues before handed off to Brian, I think it was Brian Wood, I think it was. Jeff Hill and this Girl's White Dress, which I discussed already. Skipping that one. I'm going to discuss 6 Hours to Kill. This is from 6670 of Punisher Frank Castle Max. Written by Dwayne Straczynski, art by Michael Laban, was basically the same creative team behind Force Nation One Shot. Welcome to the Bayou, which is the last official story of this book. Written by, basically, it is done by the writer of Little Black Book, but not the same artist. No, this is going about in the final issue of the book. This is interesting, issue 75. This book has got 6 stories in it. Dolls by Tom Perinci, with the artist from the annual from Lawrence Campbell. Gateways by Greg Hurwitz, who did the Girl with White Dresses story arc. With Daz Purse in the artwork. Dwayne Straczynski does Ghoul, who he also did the Force Nature and the 6 Hours to Kill, but not the same artist. No, this is Tom Cooker. Father's Day is done by Peter Milligan, which is interesting. I think this may have been the only time he ever wrote Punisher. With the artist of this was the penultimate artist of the previous issues, and small bit of this by Charlie Hudson, Ken Lashley. So the annual, it is basically just some more. It's a very interesting, visually the book looks amazing. Punisher is barely in his own annual. It just basically just some stuff outside of New York, per se. It just killing some thugs. Nobody's got names here. It's they're all running from the Punisher. Force of Nature, it's an okay annual, not terrible. Force of Nature is basically where Punisher, thing with this annual is Punisher, where this book is basically I'm sure if this raised controversy, people who are anti-rights activists, because Punisher kills a humpback with a boat. Yes, and people think he's Moby Dick. Yes, that is one of the most infamous things really in this book. but I've never heard anybody talk about this book at all, is mostly put... And the thing with these stories here is that Punisher is not the main character. It's all these other characters. Punisher's here as a background, is basically here as supporting characters in the story. We also see these three guys who lose their boat, and then, like, all about drugs. So, first, and of course they kill each other off. First, the guy who's clean, one guy who vomits, the guy with the beard gets killed first. Yeah, they start, and probably save money, actually food, whatever. So he gets killed because he apparently has something they don't like. So he is murdered, and then his body's up in the ocean, and then the other guy is killed by, well, one guy tries to put a flare gun in his mouth, and the other guy takes a frickin' spear and stabs him. He goes, oh, home free. And then the Punisher just hits him with a frickin' harpoon gun. Coast Guard! And he gets shot. And then the boat rams into a humpback whale. Not a shark, a humpback whale. The humpback whale just comes ashore. And apparently Punisher took the man's head and put it in the box for some reason. It's weird. Little Black Book. This is a book where we have this woman who tries to score with this one gangster, but she's basically having raised the Punisher to allow her to leave in exchange for getting past all these guys so he can kill these gangsters. That's kind of what this book is. And at one point she gets outside, and then these 5 guys try to rape her. But looking up, basically Punisher finishes up killing people inside, comes out, kills the guys, no problem, and she's able to get her little black book and leave. Then we skip over the girl's white dresses story arc, which I discussed already. Also, for some reason, the pages are black. Probably to signify this is not a kid's store book. This is an adult book, per se. Yes. Also, I believe in this story arc, this Girls White Dresses debuted the Max version of Jigsaw. Yep, Max version of Jigsaw. And then we have the final story arc, 6 Hours to Kill. Or you have Punisher kill some guards. And I do like the artwork for this book. I do really enjoy it. See a Punisher be held hostage by a scientist. And he just basically just... Does he go out and kill people? Not immediately, no. So, like, there's a little bit here and there. A few people get killed. But it's not, like, overdone, per se. Yes. He just kills a lot of people, but... Sometimes he goes through pages looking at people at all. We have some more adult stuff here. And yeah. Aside from the fact we have some nudity here, there's nothing really big about this story arc per se. Not really, no. It's like there's nothing really noteworthy about this. It's the fact like a lot of people wearing Punisher shirts for some reason, don't know why. I mean, Punisher's not that big of a thing. And then the last story arc is a weird one, where Punisher goes to Louisiana to rescue a couple women who were kidnapped by, believe it or not, freaking cannibals. So Punisher proceeds to tries to fight them, gets captured. And, well, by the way, before he arrives, one guy gets his head bit out by a freaking crocodile, and then Punisher is able to break out, and then kill all the cannibals, kill a woman who's freaking crazy. But it's a wild arc. Yes, this Welcome to the Bite, it's by far one of the most wild Punisher stories that anybody's probably ever read. It is so wild. And then pretty much right after this, we have the final issue of the book. Issue 75. And I believe this issue here was if I remember correctly, this issue actually had the debut of a character who became part of the book's relaunch. So first we have this Punisher helping this girl find her parents, which was nice. And he just protects her. Then the arc gets really gross here after the doll story arc wraps up. The next arc, I am not liking this artwork. It looks atrocious. Yes. Look at this artwork. It looks so bad. Like, it just so gross. Okay, who did this artwork per se? Okay, this is Daspers. Yeah, this artwork looks so bad. Yeah, that's the same with the second story. It just Punisher his own thing, but it just really bad. Look how Ghoul's got much better artwork. Oh my gosh, it's so much improved. I like this art better. Yep. Yeah, and then the story Father's Day is him just remembering various things. So for some reason, this story decided to flashback to the last 15 issues, like Punisher meeting his daughter, Punisher witnessing a woman kill herself after she had sex with him, and seeing the woman who was mother of his his daughter dying. It's basically like a flashback to like the whole book, the whole volume. It's like a flashback. Kind of everything led to this, and then we have the small bit of this, and that's the book in a nutshell. And that's the end of Punisher Volume 6. Yeah, so final thoughts on Punisher Volume 6. It's a very interesting volume per se. Yes. Yeah, it's a really cool idea. I'd say the start of it was actually really good. I like the first few story arcs. I think Barracuda's a cool villain. It just the stuff surrounding him basically was just gross. There were some points the book got a bit gross, but it's not really terrible volume per se. But this volume, this book particularly, was the Max Line's most successful comic book. So Marvel milked this comic, and they kept milking it to oblivion with this book. You know how they're basically doing this? Why? With a bunch of one-shots. Like, in the span of, I would say, about 6 years, 5 or 6 years, this book put out 10 one-shots, had an annual, a mini-series. Yes, there's even Untold Tales book, which released years later. But I do like some of the artwork of some of these stories, like with the exception of that one story in issue 75. A lot of the series has got really good artwork. And did I think this book actually helped the Punisher show? I'd say it was good for Punisher fans of the 2000s. Yes. Old school Punisher fans may not like this volume, given the fact how he's written this book. And the fact throughout 75 issues, this book went through not as many writers per se. It only went through technically about 2 or 3 per se. And little weird fun fact with this book. This book is also, believe it or not, the second longest volume of the entire series. Marvel has tried to have this book last for a period of time, but here's the problem. The longest it might get is almost a year and a half, maybe 2 years at most, before Marvel just gives up on the book. Either it doesn't sell very well, or something. Heck, the relaunch was not very long for this. It was only 22 issues. Yes. And that was now I'm going to do in the future. But next I'm talking about this book is basically, well, it's the remainder of the one. It's basically what the next book contains. It's like the remainder of the one shots released during this era, plus the Untold Tales of Punisher miniseries. I'll discuss this another point. But I give this book roughly a 8.5 out of 10. Also, with finishing this book, I have reviewed almost the entire Punisher series. The entire Punisher on the basically since Volume 1. You would think with this book, like, oh, are you done? Like, is this the end of Punisher, the main book? No, it is not. You're thinking, why is that? Well, the main reason why, because there's still technically one more volume left. The next volume to discuss is the David Purpose run. A run that was only 4 issues. It is by far the shortest run for Punisher book since the first volume of the Punisher was released back in the 80s. But that's from another point. But I'm glad if I can read most of the book right now. So soon, Punisher put it behind me. Pretty soon. But once this volume is completed, like, there's technically only 2 more Punisher ongoings left. Punisher Max and 2099. That's it. But next up we have is Green Lantern by Jeremy Adams, Volume 3, The Power of Will. I love this cover. It is amazing. This book collects material from issues from Green Lantern. I believe this is Volume 7, 4 through 7, and also 13-15, the full stories, along with Absolute Power, number 3, written by Jeremy Adams, Peter Tomasi, and Mark Guggenheim. 4 through 7 is interesting. They put these issues after the Absolute Power stuff, so 4 through 7 is this. It is, simply put, the Sinister Sons backup feature that led to the miniseries Sinister Sons. And it's by Peter Tomasi. It features the son of Sinestro and the son of General Zod. And that's kind of the gist of it. It's like a little adventure for them before they get their book. And I have this theory that this kid is, in fact, like, the father's, like I said, obviously Sinestro. His sister is Sonic, beautiful woman. But I have a theory that his mom, and they've never specifically revealed this. I haven't asked Peter Tomasi about this. But my personal theory of who the mother is Lisa Dark. Because in the last, like, 50 years, who has he slept with that's not basically his daughter's mother? Lisa Dark. And that's those stories in a nutshell. I'm surprised these issues were not collected in the first volume. Yeah, for some reason, Green Lanterns have this thing where it has backup features. I don't know why, it's weird. But as the main story itself, well, it's weird, per se, that the parent story, where it's the Absolute Power tie-in issues, 13 through 15, where it opens up where Guy Gardner is kept a prisoner on the island nation of Gamora. Yes, it's Absolute Power. Waller's having King Shark beat the crap out of Guy Gardner. Yes, I get the fact that Matt Man's a dick, but he's a jerk, but this is not necessary at all. This is Jeremy Adams basically running this. And eventually, we have Jessica Cruz, a character who seems like half the time the writers of DC Comics the last few years forget the fact this character exists. Just like her best friend Simon Boz, another character created by Jeff Johns, who was a character who most of the time the writers forget he exists. Because they do not care to feature him. And we see Sinestro here as a Red Lantern, which is interesting. Yes, his planet has been destroyed. Yes. And then we see the JSA in Battery Park, where they're fighting off against Amazo. Yep, I thought this is really cool. And then we have Nathan Allen Broom. Who is this guy, per se? He is the Phantom Lantern. My guess is his last name, Broom, is probably a nod to Flash co-creator John Broom. Yes. So, and it becomes apparently a Sorrow Lantern. Oh, at one point you have guy in this issue where he's like, getting shocked, and then he basically headbutts King Shark in the chin, and he's able to squish his way out. And then he finds his ring. It's being hauled off in this Hall of Order because that's what basically Waldo decided to do. We have to stop with the not much Dominators, basically other aliens. I think it's the Dicks who. I think it's no, it's not the controller. It's the guy who worked with the United the United Plant Lanterns. Yeah, and the Mazo's basically wiping the floor with. By the way, also they have it where issue 3 comes between issues 13 and 14 of the Green Lantern book. Or basically they're on the run, and then we see Felix Faust with the supernatural community, like King of the World. And Monkey is like, if only it was neutral ground, you're telling me. Yeah, and by the way, all these magicians want to beat the crap out of Felix Faust, but nope, they can't because of neutral ground. And of course, they all team up to take on this one lantern. And then we see Steve Trevor. Yes, Steve Trevor. And then we see Angleman, a Wonder Woman villain who just happily here. He breaks out. We see, looks like Rag Girl with a female version of Calvin the Witch Boy. Actually, it's part of the whole the Lost Psychics thing. So then let's continue over in the Green Lantern 14, which this is the cover I love so much. It's so awesome. Green Machine. And how it's kind of brought into this whole thing. Actually focus on all Guy. Interesting the fact to focus on Guy here. No Hal Jordan in these issues. And then we see where, actually this is Hal apparently, where he's rescued by Wonder Woman, who for some reason is wearing her David Finch armor. Yes, she's wearing this armor again. We see Superman in his solar suit, which he was wearing this event. Excuse me. And the story goes on. We have the Mark Guggenheim story, which focuses on a lantern. Which my guess is the whole thing of these lanterns. It's like a recreation of the tales of the Green Lantern Corps. That's issue 14, and we have issue 15, where you have Hal hang out with, I think, his nephew, who teaches this thing called the Batwolf, which is a plane that he basically has, and the ability to fly, whatever. They have Carol here with Dove of Hawk and Dove, who is the Star Lantern. And then we have Major Force just randomly show up in the issue. Yes, Major Force is here. And of course, yes, like, oh, Love Again. And then we have, apparently this story continued over in the Green Lantern Corps Civil Corps Special, which later led to a Green Lantern ongoing. Next story by Philip Kennedy Johnson. This is an epilogue to Green Lantern War. I'll discuss that when I get a chance in the second volume. But this book is a lot of fun. Give it a 10 out of 10. It is amazing. Yep, and don't worry, next volume is basically going to move past this. Yep. So yeah, that's particularly a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Who knows? I might have one video planned today. Okay, next video. Bye.